Welcome to Dreamy Tales, a place where gentle, relaxing stories will guide you into a deep sleep. On this channel, we'll be sharing soothing stories to help you unwind and forget the worries of the day. If you enjoy these peaceful moments, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and tap the notification bell so you won't miss any of our bedtime tales. Let's create a space of relaxation together each night. Now, before we dive into tonight's story, let's take a few moments to relax your body and mind. Find a comfortable spot to sit or lie down. Gently close your eyes and take a deep breath. Inhale slowly, feeling the fresh air filling your lungs, and slowly exhale, letting the tension in your body gradually melt away. Repeat this 3 more times. With each breath, feel yourself becoming more relaxed and ready to enter the magical world of stories. Now, loosen your shoulders, gently massage your face, and release any remaining tension. Pay attention to any areas in your body that still feel tight, maybe in your neck, back, or legs, and gently let them relax. Next, we'll do a short guided visualization. Imagine yourself in a beautiful garden under the night sky, with the soft moonlight shining down. You can hear the rustling of leaves in the breeze, the sound of water flowing gently in the distance. Feel the cool breeze brushing against your face. Now that your body and mind are relaxed, let's step into tonight's story. But before we begin, remind yourself that you deserve these moments of relaxation, and let go of all worries as you listen to each word. And now, as you are fully relaxed, let's begin our journey into tonight's tale. Allow my words to guide you into a world of dreams and serenity. Relax and listen slowly. Imagine yourself, much like Anya on this particular day, strolling down a peaceful lane in a charming, unassuming town. Perhaps it evokes memories of the place you currently call home. Or perhaps it whispers echoes of a beloved town you've had the pleasure of visiting in the past. Streets such as this one possess a comforting familiarity, an unspoken welcome that permeates the air, with a gentle scattering of quaint shops lining the sidewalks, the occasional inviting aroma wafting from a cozy cafe or two, and a handful of hand-painted sandwich board signs strategically placed to entice passers-by. As Anya ambled along, her thoughts began to gently drift, like leaves carried on a soft autumn breeze. The shops that lined the street became a fleeting blur in her peripheral vision, each one glimpsed with a casual glance. Perhaps a word or two from the signs caught her attention, snippets of information momentarily registering in her mind. Coffee, sale, local produce, step inside. These fragmented words danced together in her thoughts, painting a subtle picture of her immediate surroundings, creating a comfortable and reassuring sense of place. It was one of those moments where cares and worries seemed to momentarily dissipate, leaving behind a feeling of lightness and ease. It was just Anya and the rhythmic cadence of her footsteps, one foot gently rising and then falling, accompanied by the subtle cues from the passing signs that offered a vague sense of what lay just beyond each storefront. Her gaze momentarily lingered on a tall, lush, potted fern that stood proudly outside one of the storefronts, its vibrant green fronds unfurling like delicate lacework. Further along, another shop revealed rows upon rows of books stacked neatly behind the glass of its large display window. Anya noticed the diverse array of bindings, some a deep, calming blue, others a cheerful, sunny yellow. A few were bound in rich, tactile leather, exuding an air of timeless elegance. And then there were the select few, the lucky ones, standing upright on small display stands, their artful covers facing outwards, silently showcasing their stories to the people strolling by. On the corner, a charming little restaurant had thoughtfully placed a scattering of tables and chairs on the sidewalk, creating an inviting outdoor seating area. Each table was meticulously set for 4 people, hinting at convivial gatherings and shared meals enjoyed under the open sky. In the center of each table sat a delicate, slender purple candle, unlit for now, accompanied by a pair of classic salt and pepper shakers ready for use. Anya continued her leisurely walk, passing a shop that specialized in antique clothing and vintage jewelry. Its window display a treasure trove of bygone eras. A large, intricately designed silver brooch, its surface gleaming softly in the sunlight, caught her eye, and she found herself momentarily lost in imagining the lives of those who might have worn it decades ago, perhaps to grand balls or intimate gatherings. And then, almost hidden from view, tucked back off the main sidewalk at the entrance to a narrow, shadowed alleyway, she noticed a peculiar black sign. It was unlike any of the other signs on the street, appearing almost handcrafted. A roughly drawn arrow pointed down the dimly lit alley, and beneath it, the words "Museum of Miniatures, this way," were painted in simple, unassuming lettering. Anya's curiosity was instantly piqued. She tried to conjure up an image of what such a museum might entail. Perhaps it housed everyday objects meticulously crafted in minuscule proportions, or perhaps it showcased intricate model cars, trains, and airplanes, each a tiny marvel of engineering. With no pressing engagements for the day, her time stretching out before her like an unwritten page, Anya decided on a whim to follow the intriguing sign and see what unique curiosities this hidden museum might hold within its walls. The narrow alleyway, paved with uneven cobblestones, followed the imposing brick walls of the adjacent buildings, leading towards what appeared to be a dead end against the stark concrete side of a larger structure. Just before reaching the end of the alley, however, on the right-hand side, Anya noticed a small, unassuming black door. Above the door, a hand-painted sign, crafted with elegant golden script, informed her that she had indeed arrived at the Museum of Miniatures. Above the door, a small, tarnished brass bell hung suspended, and as Anya gently pushed the door inward, it emitted a soft, delicate tinkle, a welcoming chime that seemed to echo in the quiet alley. Stepping inside, Anya found herself in what appeared to be an antiquated shop front, reminiscent of a bygone era. A short, polished wooden desk stood in the center of the room, accompanied by an old, comfortable-looking leather chair that seemed to have witnessed countless stories. As her eyes gradually adjusted to the low light, Anya began to perceive the incredible level of detail that had been poured into each tiny world. Every area was an entire city or a sprawling landscape, meticulously built to an unbelievably small scale. She could see skyscrapers no larger than table lamps and tiny cars no bigger than walnuts, driving along delicate ribbons of road that wound through the miniature urban sprawl. The intricate designs were simply astonishing, so perfectly formed that Anya found herself wondering if it were even possible for human hands to have crafted such minuscule marvels. Minuscule signs, barely visible to the naked eye, bore perfect lettering, and the brush strokes on tiny paintings were so incredibly fine that Anya could easily imagine they had been painted by the delicate hands of fairies. The sheer sight of it all took her breath away, leaving her momentarily speechless in awe and wonder. She paused for a long moment, allowing this wondrous new environment to truly sink in, her senses overwhelmed by the sheer artistry and imagination on display. Slowly, she began to scan the vast room, trying to decide where to begin her exploration of this extraordinary collection of miniature worlds. Off to her right, bathed in a soft, focused light, she spotted the unmistakable silhouette of the Eiffel Tower, its delicate lattice structure reaching towards the starlit ceiling. The perfect place to begin her miniature grand tour. Though significantly smaller than its real-life counterpart, this impressive miniature Eiffel Tower still stood taller than Anya, its intricate framework a testament to the original's iconic design. At eye level, Anya was able to peer in between the delicate metal bars that made up its lacy frame, marveling at the minute details. All 1,665 of its steps were faithfully recreated in astonishing detail, as were the tiny elevators that could, in this miniature world, carry equally tiny passengers to the very top. Below the tower, she could clearly see the meticulously crafted Trocadero Square, complete with its long turquoise fountain bordered on either side by stands of miniature trees, their leaves painted in the rich, warm shades of autumn. The long, sweeping arcs of the Chaillot Palace gave way to a starburst of tiny avenues that radiated out in 5 directions through the miniature city of Paris, each one perfectly scaled. Anya bent down to look more closely at these wide, imposing roads, and she could see that they depicted a snapshot of early evening, with tiny cars and buses lined up along the pavements, their headlights like pinpricks of light, and even tinier bicycles weaving their way through the meticulously painted traffic. Miniature people, no bigger than ants, meandered down the sidewalks, carrying what appeared to be even smaller shopping bags. The entire scene was so incredibly realistic, so perfectly constructed, that for a fleeting moment Anya completely forgot that she wasn't actually there, strolling through the streets of Paris at twilight. It was only when she caught a glimpse of her own hand, appearing gargantuan next to the delicate palace gardens, that she was reminded that she was merely looking down from above, a giant peering into a Lilliputian world. As if on cue, the miniature Eiffel Tower suddenly illuminated in a dazzling display, a sparkling show of what must have been 20,000 minuscule light bulbs, precisely the same number that bring the real tower to life every night in a breathtaking spectacle of light. Anya watched, mesmerized, as the tiny lights glimmered and shifted in rolling, looping patterns up and down the mighty miniature structure, a perfect replica of the real light show. She clapped softly in appreciation of the artistry, and then, with a gentle smile, bid farewell to the Parisian night, her heart filled with a sense of wonder. The next stop on her miniature journey was a world away from the romantic streets of Paris, offering a stark and beautiful contrast. Further into the dimly lit room than the Parisian cityscape, Anya found herself in a miniature depiction of Mongolia. She recognized it instantly by its wide, expansive swath of mossy green, perfectly capturing the vastness of the steppe region, an open grassland that covered much of the country. She walked over to the side of the display that represented the capital city of Ulaanbaatar. This was depicted as a low-lying industrial town, with older, traditional architecture surrounding a more modern city center, where a few glass and metal buildings stood taller than the rest, their tiny forms reflecting the ambient light. The city was nestled amidst rolling green and brown hills, each one molded to perfection with gentle slopes that flowed seamlessly into the outskirts of the town, creating a sense of natural harmony. Moving on from the city, Anya's gaze was drawn to the wild, untamed landscape of the Mongolian steppe. Thick, rounded lumps of hills rose up from the seemingly endless open grasslands, their textures so lifelike that Anya could almost feel the dry, whispering wind sending ripples across the miniature blades of grass in this otherwise quiet and rural land. Tiny gurs, or yurts, the traditional nomadic dwellings, stood alone in what appeared to be vast oceans of green, their white felt exteriors stark against the landscape. Anya brought her eye down close to the ground, marveling at the incredible detail. She could almost imagine the vast silence of the steppe, broken only by the occasional call of a distant bird. Her gaze traveled from one miniature hill to another, until it finally landed on a shiny silver statue of a horse and rider, frozen in a moment of dynamic motion. This was a depiction of Genghis Khan, the legendary leader of the mighty Mongol Empire. If Anya were to visit this statue in person, she knew it would tower over her at an impressive height of 130 feet. She felt a momentary temptation to reach out and pick up the tiny silver horse and rider, making them gallop across the miniature grasslands they once ruled. But she resisted the urge, instead offering a silent goodbye to the north and turning her attention towards the equator. Anya's miniature travels next took her to warmer climes and the ancient Mayan city of Chichen Itza, a breathtaking testament to a rich and complex civilization. The undisputed crown jewel of this miniature landscape was the square-edged pyramid known as El Castillo, or the castle, its stepped sides rising majestically. Incredibly steep steps, each one no larger than a grain of rice, led the way to the top of this impressive structure, which, in its miniature form, stood even with Anya's chest as she leaned in to observe. She imagined that if she were to walk up it using only the tips of her fingers, it would appear as though her hand were rising almost vertically, a testament to the steepness of the original structure. What, in actuality, were massive stone blocks that formed the distinct boxy pattern on the sides of the pyramid were, in this miniature model, no larger than dried beans. Yet they were arranged with such precision that the grandeur of the original was perfectly captured. As Anya carefully inspected the intricate details of the castle, she felt a profound sense of awe for the immense amount of work and dedication it must have taken to build such a magnificent structure in real life. Stone by painstaking stone. Even in its diminutive form, it was undeniably a work of art, a powerful reminder of human ingenuity and the enduring legacy of the Mayan people. Anya could only imagine how truly impressive it must be to stand at the base of the Rel El Castillo and look up in wonder at this magnificent testament to the past. Moving her focus upwards from the miniature Chichen Itza, Anya took a moment to look around the vast, darkened room, taking in the sheer scale of the collection. From where she was standing, she could see dozens of other amazing monuments to human life and creativity, each one bathed in its own carefully controlled lighting. Off in the distance, the iconic Tokyo Tower stood tall and red, its slender form piercing the artificial night sky. The Burj Khalifa, a symbol of modern ambition, pointed like a delicate needle into the darkness above the miniature city of Dubai. Angkor Wat, with its intricate carvings and sprawling complex, sat like a collection of intricately carved pine cones nestled amidst the vibrant green and blue landscape of miniature Cambodia. In a scaled-down Venice, a charming little limestone bridge, no bigger than a slice of orange, arched gracefully above a teal-blue canal, complete with tiny gondolas, seemingly frozen in time. Walking amongst these famous sights, even in their miniature forms, Anya began to truly appreciate their scale and the sheer ambition of their creators. She felt like a benevolent giant gently marching through a playground filled with child-sized cities, each one a marvel of artistry. In any given miniature location, her arm was as wide as a major road, and her fingers could be imagined as the tentacles of a giant sea monster, gently exploring a quiet suburb. But despite her immense scale in this context, the scene was undeniably beautiful, each miniature world a jewel in the darkness. Against the black backdrop of the room, these places seemed like isolated islands of light and detail, great floating cities suspended on a jet-black sea. Taking in the room as a whole once more, Anya realized something she hadn't consciously noticed before. As time seemed to subtly pass within the museum, the quality of the light illuminating each of the landmarks appeared to gradually change. Places that had been bathed in the buttercup yellow of early morning now glowed with the bright orange hues of a midday sun. The miniature Paris had transitioned from evening twilight to the deep blue of night, its shops now quiet and the tiny traffic minimal. Anya felt a strong desire to stay and explore every single inch of this strange and wondrous place, to lose herself in the intricate details of each miniature world. But a sense of the passing time, however subtly conveyed, reminded her that it was almost time to be heading home. With a sense of reluctant farewell, Anya began to weave her way back through the miniature cities of the world, retracing her steps towards the hallway with the softly glowing blue lights. As she was almost to the doorway, something in a corner of the room caught her eye. A display she hadn't noticed on her initial exploration. She walked over to a small, unassuming display case tucked away in the corner. Leaning down, she saw that it depicted a charming little town, one that felt remarkably like her own, or perhaps one she had visited and held fondly in her memory. There was a tiny storefront with a potted green fern, no bigger than an almond, sitting on one side of the miniature road. Beside it was a bookshop with minuscule specks of books, stacked in neat and orderly rows. A little further down the way, she spotted a charming restaurant situated on the corner. On the tiny sidewalk outside, there were even tinier miniature tables and chairs, perfectly scaled to the surrounding buildings. On each toy-sized table sat a pair of salt and pepper shakers and a delicate, almost invisible purple candle. Just beyond the restaurant was an antique shop, its window displaying vintage dresses and a large silver brooch. A perfect miniature replica of the one that had caught her eye earlier in the real town. And then, tucked back off the miniature sidewalk at the entrance to a narrow alley, Anya saw a familiar black sign. It read, in the same simple lettering she had seen outside, "Museum of Miniatures this way." A sudden sense of understanding, a quiet revelation, washed over Anya. She sensed that there was far more to this extraordinary place than initially met the eye. Perhaps this was what Ms. Evangeline, the enigmatic curator, had meant when she said the museum was always somewhere. Anya now understood that it possessed a magical quality, a transient nature that she couldn't begin to fully comprehend. She felt incredibly lucky to have stumbled upon its wonders when she did. She imagined that if she were to return to this very spot a week from now, she might not find the unassuming little black sign beckoning her down the alleyway. Perhaps the museum was simply passing through a fleeting dream and would be on to new horizons by then, its wonders awaiting discovery by someone else. She took one final, lingering look at the familiar miniature street, and then out over the mesmerizing nightscape of floating cities, their tiny lights twinkling in the artificial darkness. Then, with a gentle sigh of contentment, she turned and walked back towards the hallway with the soft blue lights. The ethereal glow guided her back to the heavy velvet curtain. It brushed softly against her shoulder as she passed through into the dimly lit shop. Miss Evangeline, the woman with the perfectly round glasses, was seated once again on the old leather chair behind the desk, a faint smile playing on her lips. She greeted Anya warmly when their eyes met. "Did you enjoy our very special museum?" she asked, her voice carrying a hint of knowing amusement. Anya nodded and smiled. her heart still filled with the wonder of what she had just experienced, and thanked her for her extraordinary hospitality. Miss Evangeline stood up gracefully and walked over to the tall bookcase near the door. With her back to Anya, she quietly dropped something small into a little paper bag, which she then handed to Anya as she made her way towards the exit. "You're welcome back any time," she said, her eyes twinkling behind her round glasses, "if you can find the way." And with that enigmatic farewell, Anya left the Museum of Miniatures behind, stepping back out into the cool air of the alley and then onto the familiar main street. She strolled past the antique store and the charming little cafe, past the bookshop and the store with the potted fern, the real-world versions of the miniatures she had just seen. As she walked, she felt a gentle yawn coming on, a sign of the day's quiet adventures catching up with her. She knew she would be grateful to be snuggled up in her own bed soon, fast asleep and dreaming of miniature worlds. She continued walking up and down the familiar streets until she finally reached the place where she was staying. She went inside the front door and gently set the small paper bag that Ms. Evangeline had given her down on a nearby table. Then she began to get ready for bed, her mind still replaying the incredible sights she had witnessed. After turning out the lights, she carried the small bag over to her bedside table. Sitting down on the edge of the bed, she carefully opened it up to see what Miss Evangeline had so mysteriously placed inside. There, nestled in the tissue paper, she found a perfect miniature replica of the Eiffel Tower. It was so incredibly small that it could easily fit in the palm of her hand. If she looked closely, she could even make out the tiny details of the 1,665 steps and the minuscule elevators that carried imaginary passengers up to the very top. Anya marveled at the exquisite craftsmanship and the incredible attention to detail. And then, as if by magic, just like in the museum, tiny lights, no bigger than grains of sand, began to shimmer and sparkle across the surface of the miniature tower, creating beautiful patterns of light. Anya placed this magical miniature on the nightstand by her bed and watched the tiny lights dance in their enchanting patterns as she finally drifted off into a deep and restful sleep, her dreams filled with the wonders of the Museum of Miniatures.